I'm not saying that this has anything to do with it, but it brings into question some very interesting points. Just off of the Gaza coast, a billions of dollars worth of natural gas has been discovered. So in theory, the Palestinians in Gaza who have maritime rights to that part of the water, if recognized as a state, would be extremely wealthy because of the amount of natural gas that's right there on their coastline. You know, when we think about the Middle East, I've always kind of felt like a lot of the conflicts over there had a lot to do with energy. And I am in support of Israel because I feel like Israel is important to our national security. But I think that, you know, what people need to understand when you hear people calling them occupiers and things like that, and somebody had some comments that I had made a while back about this, but President Truman was very essential in establishing the state of Israel. And I believe that it was done with good intentions out of security concerns for the West. And I don't think that we should downplay those security concerns, because there is, to a certain extent, you know, some necessity there. I don't agree with war. I don't agree with what's been going on. The you know, over 7,000 people killed on one side seems a little bit over the top to me. The bigger question that I've always had is, you know, when we see these conflicts arise, how much does oil and gas play into it? And I think it's fascinating that they found billions of dollars worth of natural gas just off of the coast of Gaza. But getting into the bigger picture, you know, this war is a mousetrap, in my opinion. I still think it's a mousetrap, and I think that we reacted extremely quickly. And I think that this is the type of situation that is going to divide people around the world. It's like you had fault lines going this way and that way. Now you've got them going this way because of what's actually happening in Israel. So it's kind of like a further cracking up of society. This war is going to be fascinating on that standpoint. But what's more fascinating to me is the BRICS nations, because a lot of these countries within this region have been working on deals and treaties to be a part of BRICS. And if they do, you know, it could change the face of global currency around the world because of the energy resources, which, you know, is probably why, you know, securing the Middle East, all these, you know, unending wars over there have been so important to almost every president of the United States of America. And sometimes, you know, it seems as though some of these conflicts are started with knowledge ahead of time in order to get a foot in the door to control the situation. I feel like in this situation, though, it is a mousetrap. And unfortunately, I think the West is the mouse in this one, because we do have this new currency forming, and we've already had Iraq and Kuwait, several of these countries threaten to cut off oil to the West and anybody who supports Israel. Now, that would have devastating impacts around the world, and especially if they were able to take control of global energy resources in that capacity, and then as those resources came back available, required, you know, payment under some sort of new BRICS currency, it would destroy the Western world, and it would cause an economic crisis unlike anything we've ever seen before. It cost $20 trillion to get out of the 2008 financial crisis. I don't think $100 trillion would get us out of the financial crisis that could unfold from this particular situation. Now, if Iran were to cut off the Strait of Hormuz, which incidentally is about where 30% of the world's oil travels through, I mean, if that strait were shut off, which Iran can do at any time, if it were shut down, it would put us in a dire situation globally. Well, everybody who is not an ally of Iran. I mean, China, would be okay. Russia would be okay. That's kind of the new axis of evil is Russia, China, and Iran. I can actually see as this situation unfolds and escalates, because it is. It's unfolding, it's escalating. They're already doing a ground invasion. I teeter-totter on everything that's going on over there because, like I said, I do think that the security of Israel is important to us. But I question this entire scenario, what has led up to it, where we are now, and I question whether or not it should be moving forward in the direction that it's been moving forward, because I see this trap. I see this financial trap. And once we're committed to it, it's really hard to pull back. It's really hard to pull out of it. And I think that, when you're baiting a trap, you want to get the animal completely committed to it before you pull the big lever. And knowing that, China is an influencer in this trap, and China is very calculated, and Putin is also very calculated. I've always kind of felt like the Russian-Ukraine war, being as endless as it has become, and I said it would be, drawn out a long time ago. I feel like that was the initial part of this trap. I feel like this baiting in on this other one is kind of where they're going to pull the trap door on us. And once that trap door is closed, it'll leave the West in financial ruins that are going to be extremely difficult to get out of. And it will completely dehinge the US dollar as being the global currency, which would make our lives completely miserable. If you think having 17 million homes starving now, imagine what would happen if the dollar were essentially worthless against these other currencies. We live in a society where things are traded globally, and so we would basically price ourselves out of every major commodity that we need for energy, for food, become extremely expensive to ship anything. So this is kind of just a thought on what's going on over there, and just a thought of how this could play out moving forward. We know that as we get ourselves committed, to too many different situations, it makes it easier for China to plan an invasion of Taiwan. But the financial trap that this puts us into, the unity that they can get out of OPEC because of this particular situation, it doesn't seem like there are very many people in OPEC that seem to like our response to Gaza. And so the financial trap and the implications that could mean, when we talk about war, lots of people die, but there's always an end game. And that end game is always a shift in power, right? And this is an attempt at a shift in global power. And it's, unfortunately, seems to be played out very well so far. And like I've said in the past, I don't think that we have the leadership in place right now to be able to strategize against what's happening. Our leader is questionable, and then that leaves it up to, the people who he's appointed. And the thing is that, those people may have qualifications, but the one who is appointing them, who is delegating, the duties to them, should have the qualifications to know whether or not they're making good decisions and whether or not to replace them. We don't have that type of leadership in our country right now. I'm not downplaying everybody that's been put into office, but I am saying that I don't think that we have at the helm of it the mental capacity to be able to decipher these things. And so when somebody is making a mistake, that person that we've elected to be the superior overseer just doesn't seem to be with it. And I'm not the only one who thinks that. We don't have the leadership there to be able to strategize against this thing. And it's happening and it's playing out. And that's why we're seeing it play out. That's why we're seeing it kind of unfold, and we're all sitting here going, dum-dums, this is what's happening, because we just keep getting dragged deeper and deeper into it. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's not even a country thing that this comes down to, because the major players in this are the energy sector. You're talking about hundreds of trillions of dollars at stake, especially, when you consider how much energy flows through the strait and how much energy is right there off the coast of Gaza that nobody's tapped into yet. It's a fascinating thing to see play out. I'm curious to know what you think about it.